I stood at the front right next to his casket, shaking as I gave my eulogy through tears. Margaret held my arm. She was pale and quiet, lost in her grief. Sandra sat in the front row with her legs crossed, scrolling through her phone and chewing gum loudly. Then, out of nowhere, she stood up. She walked to the front, grabbed the microphone, and smiled like she was about to give a speech at a birthday party.
Listen up, everyone. Enough of this depressing stuff. I'm getting married in 2 months and you're all invited. Let's stop crying and celebrate something fun for once.
The room fell completely silent. People turned and stared. Some had their mouths wide open. My Aunt Helen looked like she might faint. My cousin Brian clenched his fists. Margaret stared at the ground in embarrassment, her hands shaking. My mother's death was the first thing that tore our family apart. I was only 12 and was too young to fully understand how cruel cancer could be, but old enough to feel the emptiness she left behind. Her name was Clara. She was full of warmth and laughter, always the light in every room. Her best friend, Margaret, was like a second mother to me. Margaret had a daughter, Sandra, who was 2 years older than me. Sandra had a way of making everyone uncomfortable. Margaret and Sandra were alone. Margaret's husband had left them years ago, and they had struggled ever since. My mom loved Margaret like a sister, and in her final days, she asked my dad to do something that shocked us all.
David, please. Margaret is all alone with Sandra. She's my best friend. Marry her. Take care of them. My soul would be the happiest if you do this.
Clara, don't ask me that. I love you. I can't suddenly just agree to marry your friend. Who knows? You might even get fined. Trust me, Clara. Don't give up on yourself like this.
We both know I won't be fine. You're just wishing. I swear Margaret is a good person. She'd take care of you both.
Don't I take enough care of you?
Promise me, David. Do it for me.
My dad made and kept his promise. Just 6 months after Mom's funeral, he married Margaret. There were no flowers, no music, no celebration. It was just a quiet ceremony at the courthouse. I wore a plain black dress and stood silently in the corner, holding a photo of my mom to my chest. I remember staring at the judge as he pronounced them husband and wife, and all I could think was, what am I doing here? It felt wrong, like I was betraying my mother, like I was erasing her too soon. After that day, Margaret moved in with her daughter, Sandra, and everything changed. Margaret became my stepmother. Sandra became my stepsister. At first, I wanted to be hopeful. Margaret seemed gentle and soft-spoken. I thought maybe we could all heal together. Maybe we could be a new kind of family, one that helped each other through the pain. But Sandra was a hurricane with no mercy. She was 14 at the time, and she was loud, wild, and full of anger. She didn't hide her dislike for me or my dad. In fact, she seemed to enjoy making us miserable. She'd go into my room without asking, take my clothes, wear them, and return them stained or torn. If I cried, she'd laugh in my face. She once took a pair of scissors and cut the straps off my favorite dress. When I found it ruined and confronted her, she just shrugged.
What? It looked cheap anyway. Why are you so dramatic?
She mocked me constantly, especially when I missed my mom. If I cried, she rolled her eyes. If I talked about happy memories with Mom, she'd interrupt with a cruel joke.
Boo-hoo, your mom's dead. Get over it already. People die. Big deal.
She called me princess in the most sarcastic tone, made fun of the way I dressed, and spread nasty rumors at school. She told everyone I thought I was better than them, that I was rich and spoiled and full of myself. None of it was true, but people believed her. Some days, she would lock me out of our shared bathroom just to make me late. One time, she unplugged my alarm clock, so I overslept and missed a school interview I had been preparing for all month. At school, she made sure I had no peace. She'd whisper behind my back, laugh with her friends when I walked by, and once poured orange juice all over my white dress at lunch just to see me cry. My dad tried to help. He wanted peace in the house. He'd sit Sandra down, talk to her gently, and ask her to behave better. He gave her second chances, and third, and even 10th. He thought he could save her, but Sandra didn't care. She kept getting worse. She snuck out at night, skipped classes, and once came home with a warning from the police for shoplifting. Another time, she was caught spray painting graffiti on a school wall, swear words and all. She thought it was funny. By 16, She already had 2 citations for vandalism. My dad was furious, but more than that, he was tired. Really tired. Every time they argued, his face would turn red, and he'd rub his chest like it hurt. He started taking medicine for high blood pressure. Most nights, I found him sitting in his study, surrounded by bottles of pills and papers he couldn't focus on. He looked older every day. He smiled less, and he sighed more. Margaret cried a lot, too. She kept saying she didn't know what to do with Sandra.
She's always been like this, David. She's just so difficult. I don't know how to fix it.
We have to keep trying, especially for Clara. I promised her.
I hated Sandra. I really did. She ruined everything. Our home was no longer safe or even as warm as it used to be. I watched how my dad was slowly falling apart, and it broke my heart. By the time I turned 18, I avoided home as much as I could. I stayed over at friends' houses, studied late in the library, or locked myself in my room with headphones on, pretending I couldn't hear her yelling or the sound of things breaking. My dad was still trying, still hoping Sandra would change, but I had already given up. Then, when I was 22, the final blow came. Sandra stole a large amount of money from my dad's account. He discovered it and was heartbroken. It was money he had saved for years. One night, my dad went to bed early. He seemed especially tired. I asked if he was okay, and he gave me a weak smile.
I'm just worn out, sweetheart. I'll feel better after some rest.
I never heard his voice again. The next morning, I went to check on him, and he was dead. The doctor said it was a heart attack. Just like that, he was gone. First my mom, and then my dad. I felt like I couldn't breathe, like the world was crumbling all over again. Margaret clung to me at the hospital, crying uncontrollably. Our family gathered around, bringing food, helping with the funeral, holding me through the grief. But Sandra? Sandra didn't shed a single tear. I walked past her room and saw her trying on dresses in front of the mirror, twirling and posing like she was going to a party. Sandra, how can you be so heartless? Dad just died.
Oh, relax, Elena. It's just a funeral. I have to look good.
The funeral was held at my dad's church. That was his favorite place. We used to go there every Sunday when I was little. The church was full of friends, co-workers, and neighbors, all mourning my father. I stood at the front right next to his casket, shaking as I gave my eulogy through tears. Margaret held my arm. She was pale and quiet, lost in her grief. Sandra sat in the front row with her legs crossed, scrolling through her phone and chewing gum loudly. Then, out of nowhere, she stood up. She walked to the front, grabbed the microphone, and smiled like she was about to give a speech at a birthday party.
Listen up, everyone. Enough of this depressing stuff. I'm getting married in 2 months, and you're all invited. Let's stop crying and celebrate something fun for once.
The room fell completely silent. People turned and stared. Some had their mouths wide open. My Aunt Helen looked like she might faint. My cousin Brian clenched his fists. Margaret stared at the ground in embarrassment, her hands shaking. But Sandra didn't care. She tossed the microphone back to the priest and walked out of the church. She didn't even stay for the burial or come to the reception. She didn't care. When I got home, I saw that she'd packed her things and left a note saying she was done with us, and that I can keep her mother because she had no use of her anyway, and I didn't have a mother. I held Margaret as she cried, feeling betrayed at what her own daughter did to her. That night, I couldn't sleep. Her voice kept replaying in my mind, the way she turned my father's funeral into her own spotlight. At 2 a.m., I picked up my phone and created a group chat with every single person who had been at the funeral, which was about 30 people in total. I simply asked them, "Who wants to put Sandra in her place?" The replies came faster than I expected. Everyone was angry and ready to make her regret her stupidity. We met a week later at Aunt Helen's house. It was like a war meeting. Everyone was angry, hurt, and determined. Sandra's wedding was going to be fancy. She bragged constantly about the venue downtown, the chandeliers, the gardens, the expensive food. We had no idea she had a boyfriend. She didn't even tell her own mother until the day she announced it. Her fiancé, Greg, was some tech guy with a flashy car and a penthouse.
Let's crash the wedding, dressed as clowns.
I know a band. We'll hire them to play funeral songs during the ceremony.
Yes, let's destroy it. We'll humiliate her completely. The wedding day arrived 2 months later. The venue was truly beautiful. White tents, rose gardens, fancy music playing. guests in nice clothes sipping champagne. Behind a catering van, the 10 of us hid in full clown gear. I wore a red wig and face paint, holding a bag of confetti shaped like little tombstones. The band waited nearby in all black, ready to start playing. The hearse sat quietly down the street with the banner that read, "We love you, David. Keep resting in peace," attached. As Sandra walked down the aisle in a sparkling gown, we attacked. Brian blew a loud clown horn. I threw the confetti. The band marched in, playing a loud, slow funeral tune that drowned out everything else. Sandra stopped mid-walk. Her face was pure rage.
What the hell is this? Get out! This is my day!
Your day? You turned Dad's funeral into a joke. This is revenge on his behalf. You killed Dad, and you still couldn't let him have one day to himself. You're awful, Sandra! Everything exploded. Brian juggled fake skulls into the crowd. Helen passed out flyers with Dad's obituary printed on them. The hearse drove up and honked loudly. People started leaving. Sandra screamed.
Please, don't go! This is my wedding! They're ruining it! They're crazy!
But no one stayed. Even her Greg looked so humiliated. When the guests were gone, he turned to her.
Had I known, I wouldn't have agreed when you begged me for this wedding. You've embarrassed me in front of everyone. I'm done. Don't call me again.
He walked out, leaving her alone in her gown, crying in the middle of the empty venue. A few weeks later, Sandra showed up at my door. Her hair was a mess and her face was tired. She dropped to her knees.
Elena, please! I was stupid! I'm sorry, let me back in. I have nothing. Greg kicked me out. I have nowhere to go. I don't even have a job.
And you thought this was the right place to come to? You must be crazy. You killed my father. You pushed him to his early death. And you're apologizing now? You are crazy. Get out. I slammed the door before she could even say anything. Margaret didn't say anything. Even she had grown tired of Sandra's drama. Sandra went to other relatives, but no one took her in. 20 years have passed now since everything happened. I'm 42 now, married to Michael, a kind man who builds furniture and makes our kids laugh until they cry. We have 3 children who fill our home with joy, noise, and love. Margaret still lives in my father's old house. She tends his garden. My kids are always happy to go over there during holidays because she's the best grandmother. As for Sandra, well, she's 45 now, living all alone in a small apartment. No husband, no kids, no friends. She works random jobs like cleaning houses, working in a diner. I don't wish her pain anymore, but I don't feel sorry for her either. She made her choice and built her loneliness, just like I built my peace. Thanks for watching.